Thank you very much. You know, the World Economic Forum says that we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which is different than the previous three industrial revolutions because this one is driven by digital technology. Think about it. The world is disrupted. You're disrupted. Society is disrupted. There's over 8 billion things now connected to the internet. On average, we have about 3 devices per person. Are you posting on social media? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you an Amazon Prime member? Are you using Juno or Lyft or Uber? In some way, you're probably continuing to disrupt and use the technology to the point where research says we are addicted. And as we get more and more addicted to it as a society, we want more services. We want more firms to deliver us better and easier goods. And so work is also changing. If you think about it, this year, many of our colleagues and coworkers are either remote, freelancers, contractors, overseas, hardware or software bots, or artificial intelligence. Right? Work is changing. In addition, if you think about industry, getting disrupted overnight because of technology. Uber, one of the largest transportation companies in the United States, and they don't own a car. Airbnb is one of the largest hotel companies in the US, and they don't have a hotel room yet. Amazon is a behemoth retailer that really didn't start a storefront until they bought Whole Foods and tried out Amazon Go, which is what, a year ago or two? So industries like that have been changed overnight. And it could happen to you. It's happening to all of us. So that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about today. What are some of the trends that are impacting us in our world? What are some of the skills, new skills that we might need to think about in this digital world? Do we need to really think about our careers in a different way? As I say, take a career selfie and develop ourselves into T people, different kinds of transdisciplinary employees. So let me start off with a couple of trends that is impacting industries, firms, large and small. Number one, you are living, researchers, did you see that report? You and I, we're going to live to 115. Woohoo! No, you're good, because most people don't get too excited about the idea of living to 115. And even if you don't want to live to 115, we have science, right? We can take pills now that will keep us young. We can edit babies' DNA so that they live to 150 so that they can take care of us so we can live to 115. You think about it, you can replace every body part. Really, knees, hips, eyes. You think about it, we can cure so much more today so that we can live to 115. You're going to live even longer than that. But I went out to over 200 executives and I said, what does it mean to you if I said you're going to live to, okay, just 100, right? Just tell me what you think about it. And they go, oh my God, if I'm going to have to live to 100, that means I might have to afford to live to 100. And if I have to afford to live to 100, I might be working until I'm 85. 85. I didn't plan on working until 85. I've been working since I'm 20. That's like 60, 70 years. Think about it, working to 85. This could be you. Most of these executives said to me, if I'm going to have to work till I'm 85, I'm going to have to stay healthy enough, educated enough, and technical enough to be able to remain employed for that very long time. Okay, but let's think about it also. As you're living longer, what you're probably seeing in the workforce is that there's more generations in the workforce. If you think about it, when I was working, maybe there was 3 generations in the workforce at most. But today, no, we have 4 generations in the workforce. In fact, McDonald's tells me they have 5 generations in the workforce, and so does Walmart. The youngest employee at McDonald's is 14 and a half on a part-time permit, and the oldest employee at Walmart is 103. He's a gardener. He's in Arkansas, yeah. Still working, loving his job. Everybody loves to go visit him. But the idea is, if you think about, if you have 5 generations in the workforce, every generation has a different idea about work. Every generation has a different idea about leadership. Every generation, quite frankly, has an opinion, and they're always right, aren't they? But what it says to me is you as upcoming leaders or managers, you have to somehow make all of this work. But you know what I really hear about the most? Is that every generation has a different idea about technology, right? Some generations love it, and they say, why can't this whole firm be on an app? Why isn't everybody connected? Why do I even have to go into a physical office, right? We should be doing all this friend stuff remotely. And other generations say, we've been very successful for hundreds of years as a firm without technology. If it's not broken, why should we fix it? And then there's some generations sort of like me. I didn't quite grow up with technology, but then I got into it and I started to see I really like it. It's very efficient. I really can do things better with it. So all of these generations have different ideas about technology. You know, I go out to YouTube a lot. I kind of troll for interesting videos. You might too. Is that you? Is that someone that you know? We live in a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It's an Army War College term, I'm told, that means what it's like to be a first responder, constantly under fire. This is what executives of small firms, medium and large firms, and leaders are telling me, that today working is like being a first responder. We live in this VUCA world because you just never know when there's a natural disaster like a snowstorm and you can't get into work. You never know, right, when there's going to be a cyber attack. Who ever heard of cyber attacks like 5 or 6 years ago? And now all of a sudden, everybody's getting attacked, whether it's governments, individuals, hospitals, and banks and universities. But you know what they said to me too? As a leader, you never know when that little bitty competitor comes out of nowhere and eats your lunch, right? Think about it. Whether it's the Ubers of the world, whether it's the next stock picker of the world, whether it's a robo-advisor, competition is everywhere. And you know what? They're not even just here. Your competition isn't necessarily your neighbor next door. It's someone across the world who's typing and coding things and coming up with ideas. They want your job. They want your business, right? You just never know where they are. So we live in this VUCA world, which means that we have to start really thinking about ourselves, how we run our own jobs, how we run our businesses in a much more competitive way than in the past, because the technology has just opened up the world of competition. And so we have to start to think differently. So we came up with some skills, actually 10 skills, in addition to critical thinking, problem solving, math, reading, writing, communications does not go away. But are there new overlay skills that we need to think about as we are moved into this very digital world? So we came up with 10, and what I'll do is I'll just go through 3 to help bring some of this to life. The first one is multimedia literacy. If you think about it, 75 to 85% of us are actually visual learners. 18 to 34-year-olds would rather watch a YouTube tutorial than read a book, right? Right? Seriously. But for some reason, we keep delivering information in a very flat format, whether it's marketing information, training information, learning information. So multimedia literacy is really how can we take some of this flat information and bring it to life? So let me give you an example. I travel a lot in my work, and I was actually in Amsterdam. It was over the holiday season. And all these people were sort of like running downtown, like not like this, like rushing downtown. And I don't speak Dutch. And I said, oh, I wonder if there's like a terrorist attack or something. And as I start going with them, going, why are we rushing downtown? Why are we rushing downtown? Is something wrong? And they go, no, nothing's wrong at all. We're going to the store opening. I said, a store opening? what store? And they said, H&M. I go, H&M? I don't go shopping. They go, no, 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 no. You come with us downtown because you're going to see something that you've never seen before, right? So let me just describe to it. Here I am in Amsterdam, dark gray buildings, right? Kind of dreary day, a little rainy. And then all of a sudden, using video and multimedia, projecting on the building, they brought the store to life in a unique and different way. Are you sure you're ready for this? I and thousands of people, we started rampaging towards that front door. We didn't care what was inside. We needed to get right in there. I didn't know if it was a sale or not. I just had to be part of that experience. Multimedia literacy, it just brought an ugly gray building to life that we all wanted to be there. Is there a way that you can bring visuals into your presentations, into your marketing, into your offerings? Sense making. Trillions of bits of data are generated daily, whether it's from emails, phones, right, text messages, you're collecting data on your customers, trillions of it. Skill. How do I make sense of the data? Think about it. We didn't have to really do that much in the past, but now we actually have to figure out what to do with this gobs and gobs and gobs of data. So I'll tell you another story. I shop at Nordstrom. People know Nordstrom? Okay. So sometimes I shop at Nordstrom. But I get this phone call from Nordstrom Palo Alto, where I live in Silicon Valley. Ring, ring. Hello, Tracy. This is Nordstrom customer service in Palo Alto. How are you? Fine. What can I do for you? Oh, you can do nothing for us, Tracy. We just want to call you, let you know that we miss you. I said, you miss me? How could you miss me if you don't even know me? And they said, oh, Tracy, of course we know you. You remember when you opted into email receipts about 3 or 4 years ago? Wow, we've been collecting data on you for at least 3 or 4 years now. In fact, we think we know what departments you shop in. We think we know what brands you buy. We even think we know your favorite salesperson. Salesperson? I have his favorite salesperson? But Tracy, we miss you. You see, because you usually shop here every December and July, sale time. And well, you didn't come in this last December. So we were thinking that, well, you're a business person because we figured that out from your clothes. So maybe you were on a business trip. It is December and it's the holiday season. So maybe you were visiting friends and family. But God forbid you were shopping at a competitor like Neiman's or Saks or H&M, right? So we want to have you come back, Tracy. So we're going to leave you a $100 gift certificate, and they did, right here at Nordstrom's Palo Alto, because we want your business back. Click. That was the creepiest phone call I have ever gotten in my life. Can you believe that? So what do? I go, I'm going to call HR. So I call up Nordstrom Seattle, and I go, you know, I just got this phone call from Nordstrom Palo Alto. They told me that they missed me. They told me that they knew me. They told me they were collecting data on me. And they gave me a $100 gift certificate, which I really, really like. But what's going on? And they said, Tracy, Silicon Valley, data scientists. We're doing an internship program. We brought in a bunch of data scientists from Stanford, San Jose State. And we said to them, can you help us make sense of the data? Sense making. In the world where you're connecting data, what kind of skills do we need to develop? And actually, how can we use advanced technologies like the artificial intelligence, the Watsons of the world, to help us analyze our data? Ultimately, it's all about sales, right? Okay, novel and adaptive thinking. Think about a technology or a trend that you could borrow, could be in any industry, right, to resolve a problem that you're already solving incredibly well, even better, right? Novel and adaptive thinking. Can I borrow a trend or a technology and resolve a problem that I'm already solving incredibly well? So let me give an example. I used to be in manufacturing. So 3D printers, right, came out, mind-boggling, right, technology, because we used to build prototypes, right, by hand. And now you could pour liquid plastic or metal into a 3D printer, and you could actually print things. And now today it's pretty common. You can print toys. I've seen wedding cake icing actually come out of a 3D printer. It's pretty profound how this people building houses out of it, right? It's pretty profound how this technology has changed a lot of things. So now let's think about a reconstructive surgeon, Dr. Benasser. He's up at Cornell. And Dr. Benasser has been doing reconstructive surgery for a very long time, very successfully. He replaces people's nose, their ears, their chins, right, with reconstructive surgery. But Dr. Benasser takes a look at the 3D printer and says, I wonder if I could pour liquid human collagen into the printer from the patient and print an ear. Because from a human point of view, that would be so much healthier than what I've been doing all along. So thanks to this technology, I now can improve my practice of what I do even better. Amazing. Novel and adaptive thinking. Can you borrow a trend or a new technology and resolve a problem that you're already solving incredibly well? So what did we come up with? We said, you know what, we need to be very different as employees, as leaders in our firms today. We need to be something that we call the T person, transdisciplinarity, someone who has breadth and depth and a technology overlay. It's very different than in the past, right? I remember I had to be a generalist, and then I had to be a specialist, and now I have to be everything and technical on top of it, right? This is a tall order. How do I become a T person? How do I change my mindset to do this? So I thought about, well, let me tell you a little bit about me and what mindset changes that I went through that might be helpful for you. I actually am from New York, born in Queens, lived out on Long Island, went to school in Connecticut, liberal arts degree, Gen X, psychology major. Boom, that's what you do. I ended up looking for a job for a long time and finally got a really cool job. I worked at Vogue. I was so excited. Condé Nast Publications right here on Madison Avenue. It was really cool, did a job rotation, went on all parts of the magazine, and then I found my love of sales, right? So I was this media salesperson, and life was going great until my grandmother got Alzheimer's. My grandmother got Alzheimer's in her early 50s, and it wasn't really a well-known disease, and it certainly was unheard of here, and it scared my family because we're very, very tiny. It was just me, my parents, my brother, and my grandmother. Everybody else lives over in Europe. And so my mother kind of said, you know what? The best research for this new disease is out in California. And your brother's out there already, so I think we need to get Grandma out to California and see if we can help her with this disease. And they said, don't worry, Tracy, you'll always get a job because you have this core skill of sales and you have a degree. Liberal arts, but you have a degree. And so off we went to California. And my brother said, you can sleep on my floor for 3 months and then you're out of here, so go get a job. So I pounded the pavement, and I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a job because everybody in Silicon Valley was technical. And every job available was technical. And every degree that people had to get jobs in Silicon Valley was either business or engineering or computer science. And I didn't have any of this. And I said, but I'm a salesperson. And he said, doesn't matter. You need to be able to sell technology. And I started to panic. What am I going to do? So I do what a lot of people do. I worked 3 part-time jobs. I worked in a temp agency from 9 to 5 during the week and told them, I hear this company called Apple's really cool. Could you get me temp work in there? But I'll do anything and everything so I can become technical and just learn stuff. And then I worked at retail, Nordstrom, on the weekends, and I worked as a waitress on weekends at night, right? It's very expensive in California, right? It's like really expensive. And so I did that, and I kept pounding on this temp agency, get me into this firm, get me into this firm. I will make it happen. And they finally got me into Apple, and I temped there for 6 months. And then finally, Apple said, we're going to hire you on full time. And I said, thank you. And what is my job? And they said, manufacturing, of course. It's the job that nobody wants. And you're going to love it. And I said, you got to be kidding me. I'm from Vogue. And yeah, and so, yeah, I'm going to become Rosie the Riveter now. And wow, that's a big mindset change, but it is a job, and it's the greatest company on the planet. And then they said to me, Tracy, about what you wear. You see, you can't wear this designer stuff anymore. You're scaring people in the factory. We're going to go get yourself a pair of jeans, and here's some Apple t-shirts. Welcome aboard, right? Okay, lots of fun. No, it was not fun. I wanted to go home so badly, but I had to change my mindset because it was a job, and that's what I did. And I said, from now on, I will be the CEO of this job. Right? The past is over. I'm here now. And as a CEO, what would I do with this job? You do your 100-day plan. How am I going to make this job work for me? What skills am I missing? What do I have to learn? Who do I have to meet? And how am I going to grow this job? Because I really don't want to do this job, so I want to make it better so that I can really expand myself. And it was a big shift, and I went to town. I took classes. I actually had them put me in an MBA program. I learned every technology. I said, sign me up for every technology you teach at this company. Join me to professional associations for manufacturing. I mean, I was just throwing it out there going, I am the CEO of this job, and I want this job to be completely different. And it did work for me because the whole outsourcing wave started to happen. So the factories in the US, right, a lot of firms are saying, I'm going to shift manufacturing overseas. And we need some bright risk takers to help us move manufacturing overseas. And I said, that's me. That's me. I want to travel. I love to travel. I have my whole family overseas. And that's what we did. Do you know, one day I just put things all over the map. I think I got to 80 countries around the world for the duration of my career. And loved it. I was in Europe, I was in Asia, I was, in India, I was in China. It was amazing to me, right? It was like another education. And I made it happen. And then of course, right, when things are going good, something always happens, right? You have layoffs. That's what all we do in Silicon Valley is we lay off. So Apple, everybody has layoffs. Products change, marketplaces change, new competitors come into play, and Apple had a massive layoff. And me and 5,000 people are running around Silicon Valley looking for work. And actually, I got picked up for work pretty quickly by Hewlett-Packard because I had an MBA. I had manufacturing skills, and I also had international experience. And coming from Apple, they thought that was pretty good. The problem is that HP was kind of a little boring. And so this other company came on the radar called Cisco. And they said, we heard about you because you have expertise in manufacturing overseas. And we have a Japanese joint venture relationship, and we're trying to recruit people to come on board. So would you come and join our firm? And I said, yes, because you get stock options. And that's really good stuff. And so then I joined Cisco. And things were fine. Things were really fine for a very long time. I was traveling around, outsourcing routers instead of PCs or printers. It just depends where you work. And then Cisco said, well, we're going to cut back on travel, and we're going to use our technology, eat our own dog food. So instead of traveling overseas, I want you to use telepresence or some other collaborative technologies that we have, like WebEx. And instead of going there or having them come here for meetings, we're going to use our technology. And I said, oh, all right, well, that's fine. No more jet lag and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to work, and I'm getting really depressed, right? And I looked at the job, and I said, this job is kind of boring, And then all of a sudden, I wasn't getting up in the morning. I couldn't get into the office, right? And I was like, what's wrong with me? And I realized I didn't like manufacturing at all. The only reason I was in it was for the travel. that was so excited about going around the world, I didn't really care what the job was. And even though I mastered the job, became CEO of the job, I became a statistic that Manpower talks about, right? You love the firm, but I was one of those 5 people who was in the wrong job. But I never really thought about it until they took the thing away from me that I really liked. So that meant I had to have a second mindset change, right? Because now I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm in the wrong field. I'm getting up there, I'm like 30 or something, I got to do something about this really fast. So I said, not only do I become the CEO of my job, now I have to become the CEO of my career, right? Because that's going to get me through life. So I became an entrepreneur. I started looking around the firm and talking to people saying, how do I get out of manufacturing and into something else? And they weren't too friendly about people leaving their roles. Today, it's much easier. But my VP, who I work for, said, here are some people. Do some informational interviews. Go find out about the other roles, customer service, marketing, product engineering, program management. Go out and meet people, find out what to do. If you find something you like, no problem. Let's get you to the right place. And then I started to meet people who just were in their jobs. And I kept asking them, what do you do? What experience do you need? What did you learn? And finally, I was introduced to a VP of marketing. And she said to me, Tracy, we can't take you into the marketing department. You have manufacturing experience. But I have someone going on maternity leave for 10 weeks. And we're not going to cover her space. So we have events in marketing in Brazil and in Mexico. So if you want to loan yourself to us for those 10 weeks and your VP's okay with it, and you're probably going to still have to do your real job, I would be fine with you trying it out, because then you could get some experience on your resume, but more importantly, you can make a decision, is marketing the right place for you before you leap? And it was great. So off I went, and I did the 10-week assignment, and it was event marketing, and I was really based in Miami, and I went to Mexico, and I went to Brazil, but I made sure I didn't get attracted to that travel. Instead, I said, is this job right for me? And you know what? It wasn't. I wasn't a marketing person at all. And I happened to be on that Sugarloaf cable car going up, talking to people, because I was networking then, going, where do I go? Where do I go? This one guy said, John Chambers, the CEO at that time, is starting a new strategy group. And they're looking for people around Cisco that have unique skills, education, and background. You might be a good fit for that group. Here's the name of someone to go interview with, and let me know how it works out. Well, it worked out great. I ended up moving into a strategy group that combined the manufacturing and the marketing. But most importantly is I got out of something that I didn't like and started to move into a new path of something where I could really take hold of my job and career and move ahead. So a couple of lessons learned was, number one, be the CEO of your job, because nobody's going to tell you what to do. You got to make it. Number two is even broader, be the CEO of your career, because let's face it, we're all living longer. You're going to be working a long time. You want to be your own revenue stream. You have a vision of where you want to be, so get there. In terms of working in a company, a couple of things is longevity doesn't mean promotion anymore. And that used to be a big thing. We'd say, I worked at Cisco Systems. I'm in my 20th year, and that was a big deal. It's not anymore. It's all about contribution. In fact, I don't know if you saw the article about this Disney janitor. She's a janitor, custodian at Disney, but she's an artist in her spare time. So she started drawing Disney characters on the sidewalk, and it drew crowds at Disneyland. And so leadership team took notice and said, that's really clever. You did something, you contributed to our customer base. So they promoted her, and now she's the leader of this team, which is the janitor Disney artists. And you can see them now, they have articles all about them, how they make this because they're entertaining the customer. It was a value add. So think about value add. The second big shift is the high performance individual. I mean, I remember getting spot bonuses. Tracy, if you can save the day, I'm going to give you a $200 bonus. Go, right? And now it's like, how could one person really save the day? Seriously, it's all about teams. And whether it's a big team or actually today it's even small teams that are very agile and being able to move from team to team quickly. If you think about it, if you didn't have your title, I always say this to an executive, if you didn't have your title, would people follow you? Or is it the title of VP director that's making people follow you? Are you really a leader? If you're an employee on a team and the team could vote you on or off the team, what would they do, right? So it's very different today that we have to be able to move around and do things differently. Snowflake compatibility. In a world where we have 5 generations in the workforce, global environment, and very diverse, we are all unique individuals. And so now we have to be able to realize, how do I get along with other people, right? Do I understand how I am being perceived? Do I understand how other people are looking at me? So it means a lot of emotional intelligence, being much more aware of how you see the world and how you present yourself, but also social intelligence, which is, can you read the landscape of a company and make a plan for yourself? Do you understand how people see you? You might say, my girlfriend always says I'm really shy, but other people would say to her, no, you're very aloof and stuck up, because she doesn't contribute in a meeting. And she's so worried about being shy, but she's being perceived as being stuck up and aloof, right? So it's good to start to tap in, ask people for feedback, so you're much more aware. Career selfie. I'm going to close with this. About 4 years ago, Google published a statistic. It said that we were taking, as Americans, 93 million selfies per day on the Android phone. They didn't even calculate how many selfies we were taking on the iPhone. Now you know why the Android's blowing up all the time, right? I looked at that and said, you've got to be kidding me. Have we gotten this narcissism as a society that we're all just taking photos of ourselves and doing nothing else? And so out of curiosity, I said, I wonder how much time we're spending on our personal career planning. And do you know, I only found one stat. A college student, 2 years out of school, still looking for a job, was spending an hour and a half a year on job hunting and career planning versus 2,800 hours of sleeping, right? And as adults, we weren't. We were planning weddings, right? And going out to eat and playing sports and watching sports, and we're doing everything that we can think of, but planning our own career. And if you think about it, where we started from the beginning, if you're really going to be living 100, 115 and working for 60, 70 years, it might be worth doing a little career planning. Let's just take a snapshot of where you are in your career and put a focus on it. Okay, big changes ahead. I'm excited to be here, and I want to thank you so much for including me and Christine, because I hear that Oppenheimer is a fabulous place to work with all of these incredible opportunities. So let me finish with one final video. The story behind the video, I think, is more interesting than the video itself. It was sent to me by a music teacher. She teaches choir. And she said, I have this colleague, Eric Whitaker, and he told me, you just got to tell the story. So we're teaching choir, and one of his students, the way that works in choir is you go into class, and then you practice a song. And then everybody goes home, and then they practice the song, and they come back the next week, and then they sing together. And then they critique it, and they go back home again, and they sing it again. And one of his students was 12 or 13 years old, and she said, I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait for you to critique me. So I just videotaped herself, boom, on the phone, sent the video in, and said, what do you think? And could you tell me before next week? Because if I could make it better, I really want to make it better. And he said, this is a fabulous idea. Why don't I ask all the students in my class to videotape themselves singing the virtual choir, right, this song? And so he said, well, why should I stop with my class? Why don't I go on and ask all other choir teachers to ask their students to tape themselves singing the same song? And then he put it together because it went viral. He started getting right? Video sound files from everybody who wanted to be in his choir. So he used multimedia literacy, pulled it together, and made a virtual choir. And then he sent it out on the social media, and that went viral. And people all over the world today actually vie to get selected to be in Eric Whitaker's virtual choir. I want to thank you very much for your time this morning. I really appreciate your attention. I hope you bring something back.